Hey, welcome back to Shadow Shorts. If we've never met before, my name is Jeff Echols. I am a senior advisor and the head of marketing for Shadow Partners. And every weekday, I bring you one conversation with an expert or thought leader somewhere in the realm of innovation for the built environment. And today is no different. I am joined today by Stephen Held. He is the Chief Information Officer for a large A&E firm here in the United States called Leo A. Daly. And just to set the table a little bit, Stephen and I had a nice conversation in San Francisco a little over a month ago, I guess it was now, at AIA, American Institute of Architects National Conference on Architecture. So, Stephen, welcome. Glad that you're here, and I'm looking forward to picking the conversation up.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Happy to be here.
It's great to have you here. So, one of the things that we talked about when we were in San Francisco was the difference between innovation and digital transformation. And before we went live, we talked a little bit about, okay, well, where do these things position themselves? What's the umbrella, and what's more focused than that? But how would just to set the table, I guess, how would you describe the difference between innovation and digital transformation?
Yeah, I'm sure you asked me this question today and asked me 2 weeks from now, I might answer it differently. But I do think that one sort of supersedes the other. So I guess when I look at and we've talked about innovation, um, I tend to think or feel about that as incremental improvements, and I think
Mhm.
that a lot of what we do in our firms, we try to do it on active projects, and so you're trying to do one or two things that are unique or innovative is just simply different or a change. If you look at the definition of it, right? So just some sort of subtle improvement. Digital transformation, I feel, tends to be more of that far-reaching or seeking type of behavior or change or workflow modification that will um, that will be markedly different. So I think about like going from I say normal modeling and the implementation of computational design, building Rhino or Dynamo nodes that allow you to have your models dynamically change um, downstream as you make changes upstream. Stuff like that tends to be more transformational, or and of course then digital as a result, but more transformational. So I do see that as being the larger umbrella that innovation sort of sits underneath.
Yeah. Well, one of the things when we have conversations like this, it always reminds me of the book Where Do Good Ideas Come From? And I think the subtitle is The Natural History of Innovation or something like that. And
Mhm.
Stephen Johnson maybe is the author of that book. And in in the book, he talks about the fact that what we typically see is these big changes, these big innovations, groundbreaking things are in fact they're small iterations on something. There may be a jump from context to context or, from parallel, but they're often just small incrementational, as you said, iterations on a theme. So that what you're saying really rings true to me. When in a firm like yours, Leo A. Daly, it's one of the largest, I think, in the United States. Um, when large firms, A's and E's, et cetera, when you're looking at a number of things, I think obviously from your position, there's the technology, there's the ROI, there's the cost of everything. What is it that you focus on from your level, from your point of view as a chief information officer, when you're looking at digital and what's possible in terms of the rest of 2023, maybe and into 2024? What are you looking for um, with a mind towards digital transformation or even innovation?
Yeah, it's another question that I might have answered very differently a year ago, and could a year from now. You- So you mentioned the large firm roundtable, and so we are one of 65 firms, I think, that are part of that group. We've been have been in this role for almost 17 years, been in that circle for that entire duration, uh, sometimes more than others. And more recently, last couple of years, we've struggled with that exact question: is how do we stop not so much competing against ourselves, but on the commodity sorts of things, how do we
Mhm.
stop being so redundant and lift ourselves up in a more collective manner, and then compete on the things that are really competitive advantage? And there's a lot of
Yeah.
misnomers as to what's really competitive advantage. And and so we um, 38, I think, maybe 39 firms right now. We got together and created this entity that just went live earlier this year called the Innovation Design Consortium, to try to capture some of those things that are fundamental to lifting the industry up. I would put those in that innovation category. It's something that we
Mhm.
all need to do, and frankly, it's something that what we hope in a couple of years, other firms will join into that same group and enable that sort of base level sharing, so that we can get to these other things. So we use internally, we started to use this purchase, partner, protect um, theme. And so purchase is what we've been doing a lot, which is buying software, your Autodesks, your Bentleys, we have probably 1,000 software titles in just our firm size. So um, you're trying to use those to the best of your ability, and I think that's where you get some innovation. Partners, what this innovation design consortium, or we've done some other selective efforts where we've partnered with a couple other firms and an outside vendor, and created a software module or software node, and shared the cost of that, and shared some of the benefit. I think we'll continue to look for those sorts of things. Then there's this protect component that we're really trying to focus on, which is anything that we wouldn't buy, that wouldn't be the preference. Anything that doesn't make sense to partner, now here's our real competitive advantage, and so we're going to build. And the protect is, there's some sort of customization or reason to patent or license or in some other way protect it. So what the specifics of those are, we see a lot of opportunity. Even when I think about this PPP as a ecosystem almost. My focus is up on this protect piece. I probably shouldn't share some of our current good ideas quite yet,
Fair
but
enough.
maybe a future
Fair enough.
conversation. But if you just think mentally about what belongs in that space, I think you can start to and sort of shed these other things where it makes more sense to leverage the resources that are there. Um, I think it makes better use of our people. I
Mhm.
mentioned doing things through the course of a project. I think this lends itself more to putting together that high tech talent, and doing things markedly different. And whether you're creating something or you're just taking a workflow, completely deconstructing it and building it back up with high tech mindset, that'll give you a little bit of a flavor for what we're thinking about and focused on.
Yeah. If we can, let's run down that road just a little bit in the few minutes that we have left, because a recurring theme that's that is popping up here in a number of shadow shorts is whether we talk about a culture of innovation. We had Carla
Mm,
Johnson, who's the author of RE colon Rethink Innovation. She talks about and works on culture of innovation. I know we've got another conversation scheduled here in a couple of weeks, I think it is, where we'll talk about culture of innovation. A lot of people are coming on and saying, "Hey, we've got these tools." Lucas Manos earlier this week said, "Hey, I've got to figure out how to figure out this digital transformation, how to apply it, and
mm,
then how this works with our people." And for Ryan
mhm,
companies, it's on the construction side, it's on the job site side. So it's how do these tools make the lives and work of our people better? So the people aspect
mm,
comes up over and over. And you just said sort of innovation mindset or something. So I think that's really interesting when you're looking out and you're chief information officer, and there's a lot of roles, obviously, in a firm like Leo A. Daly. So maybe other people are looking specifically at recruiting. But when you're looking out towards the future of your workforce, the professionals that are going to be in your firm today, tomorrow, 10 years from now, what what trends do you see maybe, or what do you think is necessary to have that mindset as we move from 2023 to 2024?
Sure. So I'm going to take a mini step back
Yep.
because I think it plays to this. The, I've been a student of trying to figure out what is the best approach to that culture of innovation, that culture of learning, that culture of experimentation. We've used a variety of phrases. There's a group called Inside Outside, a gentleman named Brian Ardinger, who is a fellow Nebraskan. He's down in the Lincoln, Nebraska area. But that group is one that I've studied on, and they advocate for this method that I truly believe in, which is you can create this sort of siloed entity with some resources that do the work, develop the solution, what have you. But ultimately, the ideas need to come from the organization, those people that are currently implementing. So I've been trying to get around this contention with project profitability and project innovation. And I think that there's some magic in the way Brian articulates how to make that happen. Um, so having said that, then you don't necessarily. I have seen an evolution, of course, of the next gen, or even those that are 3 5 year professionals that have that started with iPads in their hand, or maybe not as babies but as toddlers and something like that. So very comfortable with some of these new softwares or the computational
Mhm.
design, that sort of thing. It's a new mentality with how to put together your work and your work product. Are they all programmers? No. Do they understand a mindset around programming, and more in that technical realm or technological realm? Yes. So seeing more of that progress. Um, but it's going to be, again, I just go back to that magic sauce. Like, how do I take in what I think will be these real specialists, and these are people like our industry was getting hit really hard by other technology companies because they were pulling out our designers.
Mhm.
Once you understand how to solve a problem, which designers often do, you can apply that to a lot of different areas. So now what we're trying to do is we're trying to pull their data scientists, and we want to pull their programming capability, because the same applies. If we can put rules in place, we can articulate those rules, then we can programmatically have build something that applies those rules. So it's an interesting influx of resources that I think will really change how we deliver our services in the future. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It makes a lot of sense, and it's interesting to think about that flow in different directions. From one to the other and back. And it opens up a great can of worms that we could.
We're not even going to
You know,
start talking about AI, because that will be 3 hours down the road.
yeah, that's all right. We'll touch on that another day. But um, yeah, it's fascinating, and I think there are a lot of people that are watching this or will watch this in some sort of time shifted manner that are going to listen to this and say, "Hey, I want to know more about that." And if you're in that camp, if you're watching this somehow right now, and you say, "Hey, I do want to know more," the first thing I would say is look up Stephen on LinkedIn. Maybe connect with him there on LinkedIn, and or go to leoadaily.com. That's the URL for the firm where Stephen is the chief information officer, and you can find out what they have going on. And if you're interested in conversations like this and going deeper, I mean, we have 10 to 15 minutes. That's sort of the rule here for a shadow short. Um, if you're interested in going deeper, later this year in October, the 24th through the 26th in Atlanta, we're hosting our seventh annual Shadow Summit. And this is exactly what we'll do. We'll take topics like this and we'll go deeper. We'll go into the weeds. We geek out on topics like this. Our KP Reddy, our CEO, has described Shadow Summit 2023 as being a Cliffs Notes version of everything that's happened in terms of innovation for 2023 and a preview of what you need to focus on, think about, plan for, budget for 2024. And so that gives us license to have conversations like this. What does it mean to have an innovation mindset? What about bringing people from these other, the tech community into our firms? The softwares, the AIs, will certainly touch on all of those as topics at Shadow Summit 2023. And so you can find more information at shadowsummit.com. There's actually, it's a purposefully intimate setting, 200 tickets max. And so I would encourage you to go over to shadowsummit.com. There's a little button towards the top of the page there for you to apply to attend there. But if you're interested in conversations like this, you might want to join us October 24th through 26th around the Georgia Tech campus, so in Atlanta. So think about that. Stephen, this is, like I said, I mean, we could, you just said we could spend 3 hours on AI. We certainly could. We could spend another hour on, right where we are right now on this topic. So I thank you for opening the can of worms. Maybe we'll have to come back in the future and we can explore it a little bit further.
Would love to.
That's great. Thank you for doing this. For all of you out there that watch these Shadow Shorts, I appreciate you for joining us. I'll be back again tomorrow with another expert, another thought leader in the realm of innovation for the built environment, and hope this piques your interest in some way. So thanks for watching us. We'll see you again soon.